Hi everyone, I'm Kenny Anderson. The topic of God being taken out of America has come up far too often. I'm joined today by Kagan Shaw. And Kagan, in what ways do you specifically see God being taken out of America?
The secularization of America is obviously something that we've been seeing a lot, especially in the past, just given 50 years, just especially after post-war. We've seen a lot of, especially in government, mostly, just in the new laws and legislations that are being passed. We see a lot of same-sex marriage proponents and people arguing for the right to marry one of the same sex, and the government feels obligated to do this because of civil rights cases and all these other things. Whereas this wouldn't even be an issue. Many years ago, society would be completely against it, and now they seem to have a case because the broader society is starting to accept homosexuality as something that is permissible. So we see these effects in government. I see them in the schools, especially in both in high school and in collegiate education. You see especially in colleges, they'll promote freedom of speech and freedom of ideas and opinions, and we should have freedom to express and discuss these issues. When really they've silenced the creationist crowd. You're no longer considered to be intellectually, worth anybody's time or intellectually respected if you are a creationist, if you hold the Bible to be at all authoritative on issues of science or history. And so there have actually been active discrimination against Christians in schools and their ideas, and professors have lost their jobs. Kids and students are put down because of these things, and it's a big problem. Schools aren't as free as they used to be because of this secularization movement. And you see the same thing in high schools and middle schools. You look through science books, you no longer see creationism taught as a valid option among many, but it's taken out altogether, and you can't even teach it. And even if the teacher decides to teach on it, just not at all persuasively, or teaching that it's right, but just teaching it as this is one opinion among many. That's it. So.
And looking at that as a whole, if America did take God out of this country, what would be the effect overall having God completely taken out of the American society?
That's hard to say. We would definitely see any kind of real gross effect or any kind of major effect would take a long time to see. If God was taken out completely, by that the complete secularization of America, no one recognized any kind of God or higher authority over us. We were not responsible for any of our actions to some higher authority. Man was the measure of all things. If that were to happen, eventually it would just continue on. People would literally just live the way that the government ordered them to live, the way society chose. We would continue on for a little while, living with these mindsets and these values and attitudes we have now, just out of habit. We would still consider equality of individual to be very important, democracy and the pursuit of happiness, freedom, all these virtues we would still retain from our Judeo-Christian roots, even though we've lost the foundation completely for those things. And so it would still be an orderly society, but we would have lost something really, really precious and important that comes along with feeling responsible to a deity or some ultimate authority that transcends.
You're a Canadian citizen. How would you compare and contrast the differences between Canada taking God out of their country and the United States taking God out of America?
Canada is further along in its secularization process. Both countries are very similar on the ideals with which they were founded. Both were originally European colonies. Canada is much more closer now to modern-day Europe, or contemporary Europe as it is now, than America is. America is on its way, I feel, but Canada has totally legalized same-sex marriage in every province. I joke with my American friends and saying that in Canada we actually are more free than we are here in America, because we have more freedom to do what we want. It's not necessarily a good thing. We have more freedom to do those things that especially those in the church, consider morally abhorrent, like marry your someone of some member of the same sex. And so in a sense we are more free, but more freedom isn't always necessarily a good thing. So.
And finally, as we wrap it up here, America's taking God out of our country, and really we're almost rewriting the history books by taking God out of our history. What do you see as the long-term effects through this country, and even now taking from our country, taking God out of our history? What do you see that as an effect long-term on America and even the world, for that matter?
Well, I feel like America has always kind of stood for these very important ideals, such as democracy and freedom, equality, all of these things. And if you travel the world at all, you see these developing countries attempting to Americanize themselves in the sense of seeking for democracy, of seeking for equality, and these certain characteristics and virtues. Not everybody's familiar or aware of the idea that all of these virtues and values that we hold to be so high and that we espouse and champion are derived from Judeo-Christian roots. And if you take away God, or if you completely secularize a nation, you literally lose the foundation for those. And so we will continue to live as we have now, but once the foundation is gone, all it takes is a little bit of a hit, maybe a war or some kind of social uprising, or just a really good idea. All it takes is to shake the foundations of those values we hold. And in the world, America as it stands now will lose its prominence and its appeal to the world, and it can't be good. It won't be a good thing.
All right, Kagan, thanks a lot. We appreciate it, man. Thanks for all your insight.
No problem.